Today's show brought to you by redcon1.com. That's right. Click the link at the bottom of the podcast app in which you are listening to this on. Check them out. Use promo code T20 Quartermiss. That's right. redcon1.com.
There's nothing special about being American. None of you can define for me what an American is.
I am the nation. I was born on July 4th, 1776, and the Declaration of Independence is my birth certificate. The bloodlines of the world run in my veins because I offered freedom to the oppressed. I am many things and many people. I am the nation. I'm 200 million living souls and the ghost of millions who have lived and died for me. I'm Nathan Hale and Paul Revere. I stood at Lexington and fired the shot heard round the world. I'm Washington, Jefferson, Patrick Henry. I'm John Paul Jones, the Green Mountain Boys, Davy Crockett. I'm Lee.
Coming to you from the D-Tom Studios in the free state of Florida, sponsored by Maker's Mark Bourbon. This is Don't Tread on America. Come on. Alrighty, folks. Today is Sunday, March 22nd, 2026, and guess who's back? That's right, brother. I'm back. I made it. Vacation is about to be over. I have one more day off, and then I start back, and that's a 9-day stretch. Anyway, guys, I'm back. Had a great vacation. I missed you guys. I don't know if you missed me. I mean, there was shows, so you were able to listen. However, the show that was supposed to upload Thursday did not. So anyway, I'm not bringing you that show today. I'm going to bring you a different show today because I have a lot of things on my mind. 2 weeks off of not being able to talk on this microphone. I'm kind of pissed off, and you're going to see that today. But a couple of things before we get into the show is, guys, I just got back from vacation. I need you to go to D-Tom store. No, I do need you to go to D-Tom store, but it's not for money because I give that away anyway. But I do need you to go to D-Tom store. Check it out. Buy you some stuff. Get you a t-shirt. Get you some stickers. Get you a glass. Get you something. Guys, all proceeds go to Tunnels to Towers. I don't take a penny. I don't care about that shit. I just need the traffic on the store. Okay? Also, make sure you follow the show on social media. Don't Tread on America on Facebook, Instagram, True Social, on the Ticker Talker, and of course on the Twitter X Machine, D-Tom Podcast 1776. And if you're not on social media, that's fine. You can go to the website. That is don'ttreadonamerica.com. And if you want to talk to me personally, you can do so. Email me, donq at don'ttreadonamerica.com. And right now, we're going to crank it up like we always do. A little bit of damn Yankees. Don't Tread on Me, courtesy of one Ted Theodore Nugent. Guys, I have a show for you today. It's going to be about an hour of ranting because I, just as much as you guys are, am pissed off. I'm pissed off at everyone. Okay? So please, stay tuned because it's going to be a doozy. Guys, also make sure you follow the show on Rumble TV, on Rumble, Don't Tread on America TV. We'll be right back.
Don't you
right, guys. I'm sorry. I'm a little out of sorts right now. Got to work out the rust. Plus the Gator game's on, and I'm trying to watch that too. Anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Don't Tread on America. Of course, I'm your host, Don Q, with your no bullshit voice for freedom, coming at you with another marathon edition of pissed offedness. This is the podcast where we call out the tyrants, the globalists, and the corporate overlords who treat us like an ATM machine with legs. Today's episode is a full-on deep dive into the absolute clusterfuck we're living through right now. The Iran war that's jacking gas prices up $1 plus a gallon over what they were a few weeks ago, making Exxon and Lockheed richer than God, while the average American gets bent over the barrel. Again, literally a barrel. We're taking record profits. We're talking record profits for oil companies, weapon makers, and partial government shutdown, leaving real federal workers unpaid. But not the lawmakers, of course. They're still cashing those checks. Skyrocketing gas prices on everything from groceries to plane tickets, and the same old story. Republicans or Democrats in the Oval Office, it doesn't matter. We vote for the puppet, but the corporations pull the strings. We'll dive into here after our guitar solo. Hang tight. Alright guys, today we're going full conspiracy mode. I'm laying out every major theory floating around this mess, with actual articles, clips, and some receipts. We'll hear from frustrated Americans screaming on the Twitter X machine. We'll talk why the hell the TSA workers aren't striking, even though they're working for free. And we'll ask the big question, when does the bullshit finally end? Guys, we're going to have a lot of truth here, but it takes time, so just bear with me. Of course, we'll do our 3 commercial breaks to pay some bills, and no, they're not from Big Oil. So let's get going here. So, the facts they don't want you to connect. First, a quick recap. So, the normies catching up, don't get lost. I want everyone to pay attention, guys. This show over the past couple of months, we've kind of drifted away from what this show started as. Now, that doesn't mean we're turning Democrat, we're turning blue. I think what it means is we're shedding our red clothes. And what I mean by that is, I've come to realize that it really fucking doesn't matter who's in that Oval Office, who's in that Congress or that Senate, who's in your state legislature. It's just, I don't even know what to say anymore. This show is called Don't Tread on America. Okay? This is a show for the people like you guys listening. This is for everyday Americans. I don't give a shit who you voted for. You have got to open your eyes and quit. You got to quit. You've got to quit sitting there and saying, if you're a Democrat, well, look what Trump's doing, blah, blah, blah. If you're a Republican, well, look what the mess Biden left us in. It's over, guys. We've got to realize that these individuals are just there. Okay? The U.S. imports almost nothing from the Middle East anymore. Nothing. It's like 8% of our crude comes from there. I mean, and it's not even that high. Mostly Canada and us is where it's at. We're producing record oil, but gas is still up 30 to 50% because oil is a global scam. I even said this when Biden was president. Everyone was bitching because of the gas prices. Well, look at Biden did, and remember the stickers at the gas. And I was saying to Chris, because we were up in Kentucky visiting our granddaughter and our grandkids and our daughter, and we left there and hit Tennessee for a few days and hung out with Chris and his wife. And I was getting gas. And I said, when Biden was president, you had these stickers in all these gas stations. I did that. And where are the Trump stickers at? Because if we're going to blame Biden for the gas prices, then we should blame Trump. But I even said on this show, and I said it to whoever would listen to me, that, Biden's just there. Trump is just there. Now, we could blame Trump in this situation because of the situation, right? However, he doesn't control, no president controls the price of oil. Okay? I'm not saying this, you're just saying that because Trump. No, I'm telling you, I said that, you go back. I said this when Biden was president. Okay? I also did say when Trump would be elected, the gas prices would go down. Not because of Trump, but because of the things that he would possibly do with regulations and so on and so forth that would cause the oil market to dive. Okay? But oil in general is a global scam. It's controlled by the markets. Okay? The Strait of Hormuz gets messed with. Prices spike everywhere. And it's even worse overseas. But here's where it gets evil. While your wallet bleeds, let me turn this down just a hair. Oil giants are printing money. I mean, if you work for one of these oil companies, and we're, and I'm not even talking about the major ones, but if you happen to be listening to this and you're in Texas or Oklahoma or North Dakota or wherever, and you work for one of these companies or a subsidiary of one of these companies or a company that Exxon, Chevron, and these major American oil companies buy from, you're cashing in. And you know what? Good for you. My problem is with the companies. Their stocks are at an all-time high. Analysts say $60 to $90 billion in extra profits this year alone from this war. And defense contractors, well, shit. Lockheed Martin's up 3 to 4%. RTX, Northrop, billions in new contracts. And the Pentagon's asking for $200 billion more dollars. So let me read you this article straight from The Guardian. Sorry. Published just a couple of days ago. Democrats urge windfall tax as big oil set to make billions from the Iran war. It says progressive groups are calling for tax because ordinary people like you and me, struggle while corporations see windfall gains. Exxon and Chevron shares soared 5 to 7%. Rystad Energy says $60 billion extra if prices stay high. And then there was a gentleman, Paul, I can't remember his last name, but he was on Fox Business the other day. And he says this is a nightmare scenario. Extended closures of the Strait of Hormuz, plus damage to infrastructure, and oil could possibly hit $200 a barrel. Now, where I live in Florida, gas right now is about $3.80 something. It depends. Some places it's $3.85, it's $3.89, it's $3.90, $3.93. Hasn't quite hit $4 yet. The bad thing is I have a vehicle. One of my cars, it takes 93. So I need gas, and I haven't gone and got it yet because it's been sitting in the garage for 2 weeks, and I'm sure that's got to be damn near $5. At any rate, these experts are admitting it. This isn't a supply and demand. This is war profiteering 101. Now, I got into an argument on Facebook today because, hi, my name's Don. And here's the thing. People always wonder, okay, why is gas cheaper or more expensive in certain states? Why is, okay, so we're in Kentucky. So Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky. We're the 4 states. I live in Florida, drove up, drove back. And gas was about within 30 cents of each other in each state. I think $3.69 in Kentucky, $3.60 369, 370 something in Tennessee. I actually hit a gas station. I hit a Wawa in Georgia on the way home, and it was 336. And I used my Wawa rewards, not a sponsor, and knocked 10 cents a gallon off of that, so it was 326. So not too bad. Then getting to Florida and it's 390. But you think, okay, there's 4 states, relatively close to one another, and you're talking, about 30 cents difference between those states, except for a few pockets in Georgia where it was in the 330s. And you might ask you this question, okay, why is gas 330, 340, 360, 390? And in one state alone, Georgia, from north to south, it ranged 70 cents difference. And then you could say, well, why is New York's gas $5 a gallon? Why is California $7 a gallon? Why, it has nothing, that in particular has nothing to do with the stock market. Okay, and I don't want to talk to you guys like you're stupid. I just want to inform you guys and the people that might not realize this. Okay, so for the Democrats or the liberals listening to this, number one, I'm not saying this isn't Trump's fault. However, as far as the gas prices in America and in Europe and wherever else where gas is extremely high, it has to do with the stock market. Okay, period. It's a commodity. It's traded on a global scale. It's not an American price, a European price, so on and so forth. It's a global number. That $100 or whatever that number is per barrel is a global price. Okay, they say $100 or $120 or $70 a barrel because oil is traded in dollars, American dollars. Thus, the reason why our dollar is called the petro dollar. Okay? Stick with me, folks. Our money is not backed by anything other than our might power, our war machine power, and oil. That, for the longest time, we didn't even control. But the price that you're paying at the pump, as much as it has to do with that price of the barrel, has to do with the taxes that are put on that gasoline by state, or let me start, by federal, state, local government, but it even goes as far as, say, county and then city. That's how it's broke down. And that's why when I can drive through the state of Georgia, for example, I'm not picking on Georgia, I'm just giving you an example. This is based on personal experience of driving through Georgia yesterday. I don't know the counties I was in. I don't live there. I was just driving down 75. The gas prices range, like I said, anywhere from $3.90 something to $3.30 something. And that has to do with probably the closer I was to Atlanta in that county and more into the rural areas was cheaper because the taxes aren't as high as they would be in whatever county Atlanta's in. I'm sorry, I just don't know the counties, so pardon me. In California, I have no idea what the price of gas is there, but I got to imagine it's got to be $6, $7 a gallon. You can hit me up on Twitter at the show, DTOM Podcast 1776, and let me know what it is. Let me know if I'm right or wrong or whatever. But the reason the gas is so high there has nothing to do with the price of oil, essentially. The reason it's twice as much in California as it is in, say, Florida or Georgia or whatever has to do with your taxes, whether it's your state, your local, your city, your county, whatever. I'm sure gas in California fluctuates from certain areas of California to, say, LA or San Francisco or whatever. And I got into an argument with a person on Facebook about this, saying that as much as we cannot control, you and I, even the president for that matter, unless they were to stop this war, have no control over that price of oil. Now, yes, the price of oil can fluctuate based on what the president, whoever that person is, says and does. Okay? When Biden was in office, and I'm just using these two presidents because these are the 3 presidents we've had, and I'm saying Trump as 1 and 2, in the past, 9 years. The things that they do does make a difference in that thing. Even though their actions might not actually affect oil per se, it's the thought that it might. And that's why the market fluctuates. You might ask the question, you drive by your local gas station today, and let's say gas was $3.50. Okay? You drive by the gas station tomorrow and it's $3.70. We've all seen it, and you think, how in the fuck did gas go up 20 cents overnight? We've all had that conversation with your wife, with yourself, with your friend, whatever. That's why. Because the market fluctuates that number. Because you get to sit there and say, because I used to think this myself, how did gas go up 20, 30, 40, whatever cents in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? That gas that's in that tank at that gas station is probably the same gas that was there yesterday when it was $3.50, but now it's $3.70. Because those people, if it's a independent gas station or a corporate gas station, they have no control over that number. And that's why in your city, your town, the gas is basically the same price at every gas station. If it's a penny or two lower, depending on the gas station, is probably because the owner or the corporation might fluctuate that price down a little bit to get you in the store. Okay? So, Wawa, for example, might sell their gas for a few cents cheaper than the Haji across the street because they want you to come in and buy you a sub or buy you a soda, get you a bag of chips, whatever. They're going to make their money there. None of these people make money on gas. None of these gas stations make money on gas. They literally profit pennies on gas. I mean, it is literally pennies. So, I'm telling you this because I don't want you to go into the local Haji Mart and he's got gas at $4 when the racetrack or the Wawa or whatever you got in your town, a corporate gas station, is selling it for $3.80 or $3. Granted, it wouldn't fluctuate that much, but it might be 5 cents difference. Anyway, the crux of the problem here is if the federal government, Trump, the Congress, the senators, your governors, your local or your state legislative branch, your state Congress, your local government, your city managers, your county managers, those individuals, if they really cared, if they truly cared, they would do a tax halt on that. And my thought process was, and this goes into what we're saying here about the windfall tax. And if you don't know what that is a tax on wind. No, I'm joking. It's a tax levied on an unforeseen or unexpectedly large profit, especially one regarded to be excessive or unfairly obtained. So if you have these oil companies making a shit ton of money quickly, because this war only started a few weeks ago, and they're seeing record profits, and with no end in sight, as much as Trump wants to say, it's going to stay like this or get worse. And as Israel, U.S., and Iran keep bombing these things, this infrastructure, it's going to get worse because now you're talking infrastructure that's going to take months, years to fix or rebuild, which is going to cause the market to stay high. Even though in America, we depend on 5% of that stuff. And the kicker here is, as far as America is concerned, we don't even need that. We don't. We can make our own. We have enough here. We don't even need that. But that doesn't even matter because our numbers aren't based on what we as Americans, or as this country or this continent, can produce. It has nothing to do with that. We could have oil out the ass. The market's still going to say it's $120, $150, $200 a barrel. It has nothing to do with that. So that's where we stand right now. Before I go any deeper, I'm going to give you a commercial real quick. So just hang tight, guys. All right, guys. So before we go deeper into the conspiracy rabbit hole, let's talk about staying sharp when the world's going crazy. If you're stressed, tired of the mainstream nicotine crap, check out Alp nicotine pouches, guys. Clean, strong, no smoke, no spit, American made, veteran owned. Use promo code DTOM, or better yet, hit Alp nicotine, or I'm sorry, alppouch.com/DTOM for 20% off your first order. alppouch.com/DTOM. Fuel the fight without the lung damage. We'll be back in just a second, guys. Tell you, these damn basketball games are stressful. It's like fucking 8 seconds left. Come on, guys. All right, guys. Now we're going to talk about conspiracy theories. And we're fully loaded with them. Sorry. All right. Time for some red pills. Here are all the major conspiracy theories circulating right now about this Iran war and gas spike. And I'm backing every one of them with articles and clips. So, theory 1. This is straight up, title of the show, Blood for Oil 2.0. Manufactured by the military industrial complex. So, this is one is classic. This is the same as Iraq. The Bend Bulletin guest column nails it. The military-industrial complex strikes again. Wars of choice, launched by our own warmongering cabal of corporations and the military. They say the Iran nuclear program was just an excuse. Already $1 billion spent, and the war machine gets to blow through hundreds of billions more. Theory 2. Big oil and defense contractors colluded to provoke this. Jacobin magazine says defense contractors stand to profit off of the Iran war. Lockheed Martin up 3.4%. RTX 4.7%. Northrop is up 6%. Morgan Stanley straight up advising investors to load up on defense stocks. And oil? Well, Texas firms are loving it. You have what is going on right now in the Straits of Hormuz are what a lot of people are saying false flag events to push these numbers. Because I can tell you right now, these people that run these companies, that are higher ups in these companies, I would even venture to say that the people working for these companies that are getting paid, god damn it, a shit ton of overtime, a shit ton of money to work in the oil fields and do whatever they're doing to build this war machine in these other companies, are getting paid. Okay? So, of course, it is encouraging for them to push or lobby to their congressmen or whoever they're paying money to in Washington to push this narrative. Okay? So what's going to happen is, as these neocons and oil barons are doing this, they're laughing all the way to the bank while you, me, are paying at a minimum $5 a gallon for gas. It's coming, guys. If this doesn't, I mean, seriously, if this doesn't end soon, now, granted, the infrastructure thing is still there. However, if this doesn't stop And if we don't find out what the end game is in all of this and what the purpose is, now you know I have my thoughts on this whole thing. This isn't necessarily about oil like I felt like Iraq was years ago. My thoughts take it to a more biblical situation, but this isn't what we're talking about today. I feel like regardless of what I feel Israel's plan is and all of that aspect of it, the biblical aspect of what I feel like started this whole thing and what could possibly end this whole thing, is inconsequential to this, because now you have companies around the world, not just in this country, but I mean, granted, when it comes to military industrial complex, yes, it is this country. But when we're talking oil, it isn't necessarily just this country. There's big oil firms in Europe, in other countries around the world that are benefiting from this same thing. And what's the end game? If this doesn't stop soon, you're literally going to be looking at this. And what's going to happen, and this actually, we're going to get into another part later, and I don't want to jump the gun, but we're going to talk about the TSA situation too. But I also came across an article on that kind of goes in line with that the there's airline companies, United and some of these other airline companies, who are starting to cancel flights because of gas prices being so high. Because now it's going to be a situation where they're going to want full planes again. And we saw this back, I don't know, it was 21, 22, somewhere around there. I remember we went to Texas, to San Antonio on vacation. When we flew back, we had to fly here, fly there, and wait around so they could fly to Tampa with a full plane, because they didn't want to fly with a half plane. And you're going to see that. So, as well as, well, the Gators lost. God damn it. As well as the TSA situation, you're also going to start seeing flights getting canceled. It's going to happen. It's already happening, so just be prepared. Anyway, Deep State, Theory 3. Deep State Israel lobby engineered it to distract from a domestic collapse. Trump's approval is tanking. Regardless of what you're hearing, yeah, he might have his base that is supporting him, but here's the kicker on that. His base is dwindling. So if let's just throw a number out there. If 100,000 people 4 months ago were MAGA, whatever you want to call it, that 100,000 might be only 50,000 now. I'm just making up numbers. I don't know what those numbers are. I'm just giving you a thought process here. So if I'm sorry, I'm distracted. If that base shrunk and 85% of those 50,000 think Trump's doing a great job, and they're going to say, oh, look, his base, his support and his base is up. But they're not giving you the whole story. It's not even that his support is up in his base, it's that his base is shrunk. Okay? You understand what I'm saying going with this? But so his approval rating is tanking in that sense, because I guarantee you, if they could do a poll on everybody that voted for Trump, whatever that number was, how many of those people, okay? Gas prices destroying his drill baby drill promise, which it's destroying that promise because people, your everyday people, don't understand how gas prices work. Okay? We're drilling. We're doing what he said he wanted to do. The drill baby drill promise was working. Gas prices did go down. Why was it working? Well, you said, Don, that, the president doesn't have control over that. I said he doesn't have control over the prices, but the words that they do say and the actions that they do can affect those things. Obviously, the action of President Trump bombing Iran caused gas to go up. Right? So actions do have consequences, good and bad. So when he said, drill baby drill, gas prices went down. Why? Because the market saw this as, well, we're going to have an influx of oil in the market. Therefore, more supply, less demand is going to cause the price to go down. Following me? But now we have a perfect distraction while corporations consolidate power. How many places that you might work for, whether they're national or global companies, who are consolidating right now? I work for one. Fortunately, most of these companies kind of consolidate from the top and work their way down. The reason that is because do we need, 50 regional presidents when we only need 25 or whatever? And that's kind of how it works. You'll see more layoffs or those types of things happening at corporate level of different companies. I'm not talking about gas companies. I'm talking about retail companies, just major companies, whether they're retail or based in retail or sell to retailers, your food suppliers, those types of things. Those will happen from the top down. They never happen from the bottom up initially. Now, you might see a spike in shipping costs. You'll see a spike in like UPS and FedEx. I mean, the post office is already looking at raising the price of postage. And that is because of this. As much as the market was starting to fix itself, inflation and everything, and you even saw some companies coming and lowering their prices again on goods. Well, guess what? That's going to end if this doesn't end really quick. Okay? You think things were bad under Biden? It very well could get worse. I don't recall what the inflation number was last month, but I guarantee it goes up in March. When we see the reports in April, guarantee it. I think it was 5%, 4%, something like that. I guarantee it goes up. So now you have price gouging and collusion at the pump, and we kind of touched on this. Rep. Frank Pallone is calling for an investigation into Exxon, Chevron, etc. for alleged collusion. And Democrats are pushing that windfall tax because they know the game. Now, once again, I don't know how much collusion can be involved with Exxon and these major oil companies when it comes to pricing, unless there's something going on within the market with these companies that is beyond my knowledge. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm just telling you the basic principle of why oil prices are what they are. Okay? Period. Now, as far as the windfall tax, even though that was a Democratic legislation being, authored and possibly going to be put in, I don't have a problem with that. Now, the problem would be if the companies pass that tax on to the consumer. There's where your problem is going to lie with these taxes. So whether there's some kind of verbiage in these laws that say that can't happen, I don't know. I don't know the laws. I don't know exactly how that shit works. I'm just giving you my average everyday American view on what I feel is the situation. First of all, if you want to push a tax onto the oil companies for their massive windfall in money, fine. And if you want to really help the American people, because that isn't going to help any of us. It's not going to help me or you, because if those taxes, like I said, if those taxes get pushed up to the corporations, to these oil companies, they very well are just going to matriculate it down to the consumer, you and me, whether it's through gas or other things that petroleum-based products come from. It might not be gasoline or diesel. It might be, plastic containers or, whatever else is made with petroleum. So you do have that problem. But if these Democrats and if these Republicans, if your state legislator or the federal government wants to help the American public, they could put a pause on fuel tax. They can do that. I mean, in Florida, I don't know, it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, DeSantis put a pause on gas tax for like a month. I mean, granted, it was only a month, but hell, it was a month. And gas dropped, I think it was 25 cents, 30 cents a gallon. Now, You might be saying, well, Don, where I live, gas is $3.99. That's only $3.60. It's still 30 cents. I mean, it is what it is. It's still 30 cents. But that's state tax. That has nothing to do with the federal or your local, your county or your city government's taxing. It has to be a blanket freeze on that. God forbid that would happen, but I'm just saying, if Republicans, here's my thought process. Work with me here. If Republicans have any intention on winning the House in November, which is only, 7 months, roughly? I mean, a little more than 7 months away. And you can't wait till the 7th month and 2nd week to make this happen. If you really want to win, you introduce this legislation, and oh by God, you get it passed. Because if the Republicans that are currently in charge in all three branches, or, listen, I shouldn't say three branches, but are in charge of the White House and the Capitol, they would make this happen, then Trump can say, yes, the war has caused some heartache, the war has caused gas to go up, and what we're going to do is we're going to pass this legislation, we're going to eliminate the federal tax, we're advising states to do the same at state level and local level, and now your gas that's could possibly at this point be $4.50 a gallon is now only $3.50 a gallon. You understand where I'm going with this? So, on a side note, maybe we start reaching out to our congressmen, our senators, our governors, our state representatives, and maybe pushing this idea onto them to see if they really give a shit about us. And now, theory number 5. The government shutdown was timed perfectly. What? Partial shutdown right now, DHS funding fight, right? Which is leaving the TSA air traffic controllers working for free. Now, granted, doesn't have anything to do with any other aspect of the DHS, just this. Is this a coincidence or a way to squeeze the little guy while the elites profit? And, oh, by the way, the lawmakers who are doing this, Republican and Democrat, are still getting paid. Now, granted, Kennedy out of Louisiana just introduced a bill trying to put a halt on senators getting paid until they figure this out. The problem with that is they have to pass the bill. Good luck, right? And I could go on for an hour on each of these theories, and I will in the extended cut. But you get it. This is the system. Real quick, we're going to do another commercial break, so hang tight. All right, guys, in this surveillance state we're living in, you need privacy. NordVPN is the way. Military-grade encryption, no logs, works on everything. Use promo code DTOM for a huge discount plus free months. Go to nordvpn.com, promo code DTOM. Don't let the feds watch you research this stuff like they try to do me. We'll be right back. All right, guys. Segment number 3. American frustrations. The people are pissed. All the people are pissed. Okay? I don't care how much money you make. I really don't. I make a decent enough living, but when you are used to paying $2 something a gallon, now it's damn near $4 a gallon. We're all feeling that. And that's, like I said earlier, that's just at the pump. Wait till that starts hitting the stores, and it will hit really soon. Let's hear from some real Americans because the corporate media won't. Reuters poll, 87% expect gas prices to keep rising. 55% say their finances are already hit hard. One user on Twitter there, Phil Sustainable, says Trump's promises cut energy bills, no new wars. Reality, wars raging, gas is hitting record highs. Unreal Brad Pitt says high gas prices, high groceries, job market fucked. Are we great yet, MAGA? Then it's the Jody says Iran war, nutso gas prices, healthcare fucked. What the actual Mars shit is this? Okay. Polls show Trump's approval at an all-time low because of this. People are lashing out. It's why I ride a bike now. Groceries, flights, everything's spiking. This is the average America getting fucked again by a different administration. Let's get this last commercial and we'll be right back. All right, guys. With all this shit going on, and my bracket just got busted. Of course, I'm a Gator fan, and I picked the Gators to win everything, and they just got beat by Iowa. Fuck my life, right? On to baseball season. Anyway, it's time to get some restful sleep in this chaotic world, guys. Go to MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own. American-made, supports veterans and this show. Use promo code DTOM for the best deal at MyPillow.com. God bless Mike Lindell. We'll be back with more truth. All right. Before we get into this last one, I want to just touch on one thing. We're talking about prices spiking, gas going up, things getting expensive. Guys, you have to understand this is a show, and I am pretty much self-funded. Whatever money I make from the sponsors pays, I don't get a lot of money. Okay, let's just put it that way. And I'm not saying this to cry the blues. I don't do this show, in all honesty, I don't do this show for the money. I do this show for you guys and to help me release my frustration, and with the hope that there's thousands of you guys out there. Now, the numbers are getting better on this show because of this, I feel. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you to don't go to the sponsor. Don't worry about spending your money. Go. If you see something you like, buy it. Okay? Period. I use Nord. I use Alp. I use these products. I use W Energy. We haven't talked about them in a while. I just use the products. They sponsor the show. I don't use let me put it this way. I don't even use the product because they sponsor the show. They sponsor the show because I used the product and then looked into having them sponsor the show, if that makes any sense. Okay, so when I tell you this stuff's good, it's not because they're paying me to tell you that. I'm telling you that because I use the stuff. Okay? If you don't do nicotine, I'm not pushing it on you. If you don't care about your shit being read online, fine. If you want to sleep on a pillow from Walmart, cool. I don't care. Okay? Period. I really don't. That's why the DTOM store, I don't even take that money. I literally give it away. Okay? It's fine. It's not even that much money. You buy a t-shirt, I think I make $2 or $3 because I try to keep the prices as low as I possibly can. I can't afford to just give away the shit. This show is basically self-funded. Okay? I work a job just like you guys do. I have bills to pay. I have a house. I have things to do. I have things to pay. But you just went on a 2-week vacation. We drove to Kentucky. It's not like we went to fucking Hawaii. So calm down. Calm down, killers. But anyway, that's my point. The only reason I push the DTOM store is for the support of you wearing the shirt, having the sticker on your vehicle, having a whiskey glass, a beer glass, whatever. People ask you, hey, what's that? It's a show. Check it out. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. You really want to just help me out? Share the show. Follow the show on social media. Follow the show on whatever podcast app you're listening to this on. Those things. I don't do Patreon. I don't do all that bullshit because I know that money's tight. And the reason I do that is because Patreon actually cost, if I were to do a Patreon, it cost me money. And if I don't have people subscribing to Patreon, then I'm paying for nothing. You understand? So my money's just as tight as y'all's is. So I don't see the point of me spending my money to have you spend your money. Does that make any sense? I'd rather just get on here 2 or 3 times a week, give you my thoughts for free. You share this with your friends. You talk about it. You go to social media. You share the show. You talk about it. And just grow the show that way. Okay? If there's money to be made, it'll come down the road. I don't care. Okay? Anyway, segment 4. Speaking of money and people that don't have it. The partial government shutdown and the TSA. And something I had asked my wife while we were driving was strikes. I was like, why don't these people just strike? You know, because I keep on hearing, oh, the TSA union. I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if they're in a union, they should just strike. Okay? And that's the real screw job, guys. This whole thing is fucked up as I did the research. And this is the part that really boils my blood as a person, which I assume the majority of you guys are just like me. You work a job, you work 40, 50, 60, however many hours a week you work. You work 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week. Maybe some of you guys are out there working 2 jobs. God bless you. This is what pisses me off, is making people work for free. And this one hits differently, guys. This segment here is going to hit differently, and this is going to hit you guys differently. Okay? So we've got this partial shutdown. It's tied to DHS funding. Fights amid our DHS blah, 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 blah. Tied to DHS funding fights amid this whole Iran mess. Now, granted, this all started prior to this, so this just kind of exacerbates the situation. TSA agents, air traffic controllers, essential workers showing up every day without pay. Missing full paychecks, calling in sick, not getting paid for that either. Hundreds are quitting. Delays everywhere. Last number I saw, over 300 have already quit. But lawmakers, the people that are causing this problem, and yes, I said the people that are causing this problem. And no, for you liberals out there, this isn't Trump's fault. This, in particular, this isn't. This is your Congress people. This is your senators. This is Republicans and Democrats. I mean, right now it is kind of the Democrats' fault because they don't want to move on it because of the SAVE Act and all this other bullshit. Everyone wants to tie shit to it. In the meantime, you have thousands of workers not getting paid. And the only ones that are still showing up to work are the ones that are thinking that this is going to get fixed quickly and they're going to get back pay. And these lawmakers are still making their $100 and whatever $1,000 a year or more, sitting on their fucking asses. According to CBS News and the Congressional Research Service, members of Congress are guaranteed pay by the Constitution. Guaranteed. Permanent appropriation since 1983. Article 1, Section 6 says they shall receive a compensation for their services paid out of the Treasury. Federal judges too. But the screeners keeping bombs off the planes, tough shit. Here's the frustration. Straight from the gut. These TSA workers are forced to work for free, while the politicians who cause this mess keep cashing checks. If they're as important to U.S. security as the military and border patrol, who are still getting paid, which is fine. I have no problem with those individuals getting paid. They all should get paid. And that's exactly what we're led to believe since 9/11. If you recall, when Homeland Security was created back in, I think it was 2002 after 9/11, the whole point of this TSA screening and all this shit, if you're old enough to remember going to the airport in 1999 with Prince, no, you know that these individuals weren't there. You took your luggage to the check-in counter with your ticket. And you went to the gate. And let's say you're a husband and you're going on a work trip, and your wife is taking you to the airport. Oh, honey, I love you. I miss you. Blah, blah, blah. They can walk you to the fucking gate. Now they can't. And when you picked up your wife or your husband or whatever from the airport, oh, you're back. It's been a week. I'm so happy. You could meet them at the gate. Not anymore. You got to wait for them. Baggage claim. Got to wait for them. Can't come across this area because, God forbid, you might blow the fucking place up. We were led to believe that these people were essential workers, that they were just as important to this country as our military, our border patrol, and any other federal agents that protect this country. So, if that's true, then their pay should also be secured. Agreed? I mean, I think we are all in agreement of that. Let me put it this way. I don't talk about what I do for a living because of obvious reasons. There are people that listen to the show that know it is what it is, but the majority of you guys don't have a clue, and we're going to keep it that way. But if I went into work and they said, things are tough right now, we're going to still need you to do your job, however, you're probably not going to get a paycheck on Friday, my ass is going home. Because essentially, when you're forcing individuals to work, didn't we do that before in this country? Back in, the 1800s? Didn't we do this before? And we allegedly fought a war over that. I don't want to say allegedly fought a war over that. We did have a war. It wasn't necessarily because of that. But you know what I'm saying. So we can't close the airports down. God forbid. Right? But we're going to force these people to work. And here's the kicker. Because I was curious. TSA agents don't even make a shit ton of money. Realistically. Now, granted, military and it's actually, it's not funny. It's actually sad, I guess is a better word, to see what your average military personnel, your average border patrol agent, your TSA agent get paid. These are the people that are in charge of keeping our country safe. And TSA workers, I have the numbers here somewhere. Yeah, this was United becomes first major airline to cut flights because of soaring fuel prices. So be ready for that. If United's doing it, they're going to do it next. I'm trying to find the numbers I had here. I think this is it. So essentially, the average for a TSA worker is $47,000 to $55,000 a year. That's the average. Now, in some cities, states, it varies because of the pay structures in those areas. But that's working extra days. That's working overtime. That's with Sunday premiums, so on and so forth. Essentially, now your supervisors, your managers are anywhere from 65 to 110 or more thousand, which is decent money. But the people that you see when you go to the airport that are, put your bag in the tray, take your belt off, put your phones here, blah, 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 and put your hands up, blah, 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 blah. Oh, we got to scan you. What's this? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's my Prince Albert. It's no big deal. Those people are only making $45,000, $55,000 a year. Now, you might make less than that, whatever you do for a living. You might be thinking, damn, that's pretty good money. But is it? It really breaks down to an average of $20 to $26 an hour. And that's before overtime. So in order to get to those numbers, because $20 an hour, let's do basic math, that's $800 a week, that's $40,000 a year. Okay? Realistically, you can almost work. There's a lot of jobs out there that you can make about $20,000 or $20 an hour. Hell, you can work full-time at Walmart and make damn near $20 an hour. Depending on where you live, it could even be more. Seriously. So I saw Duffy, the transportation secretary, on Fox the other day saying that a lot of these individuals are taking other jobs. They're doing Ubers. They're waiting tables. They're probably working at McDonald's part-time. They're doing something to be able to pay. And it's like this was a good thing. But the thing is now, if these individuals are Ubering, well, fuck. Gas is $4+ a gallon, depending on where you live. Can you really afford to even Uber? Seriously. So it's very frustrating because, you know, the average minimum wage in the country is like $9 an hour, but realistically, in a state-to-state basis, it varies. In Florida, it goes up this month, actually, to $15 an hour. And in other states, it's, you know, Washington, D.C., it's 18. Washington State, 17. New York, 17. California, 17. You know, but many states are around $15 an hour minimum wage, even though the federal number is $8.75 or whatever that number is. So now the question is, what if these individuals decide to just say, fuck it, I quit? And go work wherever. Because, I mean, they're not making six figures. You can find a job, or if you have to work two jobs, and probably make what you're making or more, and probably working about the same amount of hours you're doing there. Now, granted, this is a government job, so the benefits are probably pretty good in the long run. But how good are the benefits when you're getting fucked on your paycheck? I mean, hell, these guys just went through this, 4 or 5 months ago? You know? And all this whole job was based off of 9/11. And what makes it even worse with this happening now, or it happened prior to the Iran war, but it's still going on. So what makes this even worse is the fact that we're being told by conspiracy theorists and by the news. I mean, you're seeing it pop up here and there that Iran, now are these false flag warnings? I don't know. I'm just telling you what I've seen, that there could be domestic terrorist situations in America. Whether that's factual or just a front for something to happen so they can exacerbate the war and maybe do even more damage, I don't know. But regardless of that fact, let's just believe it as we're being told, that Iran's threatening sleeper cells to be activated and so on and so forth. Well, why wouldn't they try and get onto an airplane now with all the chaos and all the clustery? I mean, think about it. Is it a situation where whoever is making these decisions, let's leave Trump and your lawmakers that you know out of this. Let's look deeper, so to speak, at the situation. Did they need this to happen, for that to happen, for possibly a quote-unquote sleeper cell situation to happen? And I use quote-unquote because if something, God forbid, does happen, they're going to blame Iran, regardless of who actually did it. So the TSA was created by the Aviation and Transportation Security Act right after the attacks. Federal screeners, 100% baggage checks, air marshals, all to prevent another 9/11. But what's happening? NPR, the TSA's own timeline, and the 9/11 Commission report made it crystal clear. These people are the front line of national security. They're not optional, except for their paychecks, evidently. They're as critical as troops overseas. So why the hell are their families facing eviction notice, repossessions, empty fridges, and overdrawn accounts while Congress vacations on our dime? So let's look at this. This is all recent, okay? This is from CNN. TSA workers face reality of working without pay. More than a third of screeners at Atlanta didn't show up. Eviction notices, vehicle repossessions, empty refrigerators, officers missing cancer copays for their kids. Now, before I read any further, you could sit there and say, well, Don, this only started a month or so ago. They shouldn't be getting evicted that quickly. You should do this and you should do that. Guys, you can't base what other people have to do. There's plenty of people in this country that live paycheck to paycheck. There's not a lot of people that can sit there and say, I've got, 3 months worth of bills in savings. Okay? So you can't judge what other people are going through. But also, like I said, they just went through this a few months ago. This just happened back in September, where they didn't get paid for like 2 months. So you got to think, they're still catching up from the bullshit that just happened a few months ago. That's where you got to think about this. This isn't like you going to work and something happened at your work that it got shut down for a week or two and you didn't get paid. This is a situation where these people are constantly going through this. How many of these individuals do you honestly think are going to stay on board with this always happening? The New York Times reports airport security lines grow as TSA goes unpaid. 300 plus officers quit since shutdown started, and this, as of this past weekend, over 10% no-shows. And travelers are waiting for hours. If you happen to have to fly, and it was, it's spring break season, so there's a lot of people flying right now. Easter's in a couple of weeks. The Guardian. Airports now begging for donations to feed unpaid TSA staff. And then Fox News, Representative Nick Langworthy introduces TSA pay bill using 9/11 security fees because the chaos is getting so bad. So my question is this: why isn't that the case, period? Why do we have to introduce anything? Why isn't that just what it is? The troops are getting paid. Border Patrol is getting paid. Why aren't these individuals lumped in that same group? Heightened terror risk from Iran war plus unpaid TSA. Are the flights even safe? TSA workers share the toll of working without pay amid shutdown, and they're the lowest paid federal workers, missing full paychecks and no idea when the next one will come. And TSA officer says we're at a breaking point. This is not sustainable. Staffing is down 50 to 70% at some of these airports. And they're major airports. It's not like it's, the North Dakota regional airport. You're talking Atlanta, New Orleans. You're talking major hubs where international traffic comes and goes. Think about that, guys. So, like I told you, I had a conversation with my wife about this. And I said, why don't they just strike and shut the whole damn system down? Well, it's simple. It's because it's illegal as hell. They are not allowed to strike. I'm like, why do they have a union if they can't strike? Federal law. Federal Service Labor Management Relations Act of 1978, plus the Aviation and Transportation Security Act, explicitly bars them. JSTOR and the Atlantic lay it out. No right to strike for national security workers. Reagan fired 11,500 air traffic controllers in 81 and banned them for life. Same threat here. You walk, you're fired. No back pay, no future federal job. Unions warn participating in job action could result in removal. So who are these unions even working for? Really? Why are you paying? I mean, I would assume if you have a union, you're paying union fees. Why do you have them? During the 2018-19 shutdown, or partial, whatever it was. Let me get past this little commercial here, because we don't need to listen to their commercial. I've been talking so long that my music had a commercial in it. Actually, I think we went through the whole music. All right, we're going to a whole nother set of music here. Cool. During the 2018-19, they called in sick at 10%. That's as close as they can get. The system is rigged to keep the slaves at the scanners while the elites profit from the war. So you're going to see a situation now that they're going to put ICE agents in the airports to do this job in some of these airports. Wife asked the question, do you think they're going to start yanking illegals? Possibly. What's the one thing you need to get on an airplane besides your ticket? ID. Right. This is how they divide us even more. Essential workers suffer while the wool machine and oil barons feast. And it's happening 3 times in 6 months. And that's where this is going. The corporations are running everything. Voting is a scam. And it's interesting because, Chris and I, we've been friends for a while now. And we started this show 5 years ago. And he told me years ago Voting's bullshit. And I pushed back because I was like, no, it's important. Now, my thought process starts at a more local level, where local elections, state elections are, in my opinion, more important than federal elections. But federal elections do matter, or I felt like they did. But the bottom line is this. It doesn't matter. If it's red team, blue team, we vote for the face. We vote for the promises. We vote for what they say. And then we get pissed off when they, whoever that person is, this isn't red or blue, it's all of them, do the opposite or don't do any of it. But corporations and the deep state run the show. Lobbying dollars, revolving doors, PAC money, oil and gas dropping $148 million last year alone on lobbying. The defense companies, corporations, they own Congress. This cycle, war, price spike, corporate profits, inflation, average Joe, people like you and I, get screwed. It has been repeating for decades. Back in 2022, Ukraine, now Iran. Same script. When does it end? When do we, the people, demand it? We demand it now. Audit the Fed, end the endless wars, break up the monopolies, term limits, drain the swamp for real. Until then, we have to keep exposing it. Now, when we say drain the swamp, we know who the deep state is. We say drain the swamp and we're thinking squat. We're thinking your forever politicians. We're thinking your Lindsey Grahams and those types of individuals, which is part of it. But really, your swamp consists of your lobbying groups, your corporations, your bureaucrats. These are the people that don't get elected. These are the people that work behind the scenes that you don't even know their names for the most part, unless you happen to know some of them, that are controlling this. These are the problems that we have in this country. Your politicians, the face that you vote for, whether you're voting red or blue, they're just there. They're just saying what they're being told to say. Why do you think you're seeing some of these individuals stop running? Because, like MTG, she says what she says, people call her crazy, but she really feels like this, and because of that, she's lost her sponsors, so to speak. Thus, you don't have money, you can't run for office. Period. No matter what side you're on. Doesn't matter. And if you can't sell yourself to these corporations, to these lobbying firms, then it doesn't matter, because the public's never going to get to know you. And if you're like an MTG or a Joe Kent, if you're any of these individuals, you're just going to get spun into a media whirlwind of fuckery, calling you crazy, a traitor, a this, a that, whatever. And these are people that supported this president for the last 9 years. And they've finally seen, like I have, like other podcasters that supported Trump are seeing, that this has nothing to do with Trump or Biden or Kamala Harris and the people that are sitting there talking shit about Trump, saying, see, this is what you get, man. How great is the country now? Blah, blah, blah. I can guarantee you one thing's for sure. Period. And I'm going to say this. If Kamala Harris was president, it would be worse, because everything that's going on would still be going on. Okay? But we would have still had whatever we inherited from Biden with her. At least for a year or so, things started to get a little bit better. They were starting to go in the right way. Then this war started by whoever, however, whyever. Show for another day. We've already talked about it, and we're going to talk about it again in a couple of days, because I got another show for you that I was actually going to do, but we're going to do it. I'm actually going to record it tomorrow, but you'll hear it Wednesday or Tuesday, maybe. Yeah, Tuesday. I'll bring it to you Tuesday. But this is where we're at. This is the wrap-up rants, guys. Okay? I don't know what to tell you. I don't know where this needs to go. But you think of in the past 65 years, we've had people, we've had voices, we've had, whether they were political leaders, presidents, activists, even maybe entertainers that were activists, or I'm just going to go ahead and pause these commercials so I can say what I got to say, that said the things that we're saying now. Well, a lot of those individuals were killed. Okay? I'm thinking JFK, Martin Luther King, John Lennon, just to name a few. Okay? But this could go back as far as Lincoln, and I'm going to do a show on Lincoln because when I was on vacation, I had some thoughts go through my head, and I'm not going to get into it now because I haven't really prepared for that. But this country, and I'm only speaking on America because I can't really dive into what's going on in other countries because I don't live there. But this country that for the past 200 years has been controlled by an entity. Okay? And it's only gotten worse in the past 60 plus years. And we're at a situation now where we can get on this microphone, the other 100,000, 200,000 plus shows out there on either side of the aisle can get on their microphones and they can scream to the hills and they can have, 20 listeners or 20,000 listeners. And they can sit there and say, I'm mad as hell. This is bullshit. And then we're going to go to bed. We're going to get up tomorrow. We're going to go to work. And we're just going to be mad, but we're going to be at work. And then we're going to go home. And then eventually it's going to start really hitting you. Electricity is going to go up. Gas is going to continue to go up. Groceries are going to go up. Then you're just going to be more mad. But you're still going to go to work. Maybe you're going to go get a second job. Maybe you're going to do whatever it takes to have to pay those bills. I'm not saying that Congress needs to raise taxes on the rich. They need to pay their fair. No, it's not about that. It's not about the guy that happens to work at a job and he's making, a nice 6-figure or 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever figure salary. It's not his fault or her fault that this country's in the shape it's in. Those individuals make their money because of whatever reason or however they go about doing that. It's not their fault that they made the right choices in life. That's my opinion. Now, when it comes down to it, I can't even tell you how to vote. I can't even tell you. We need to focus on voting red, blah, blah, blah. We got to focus on voting blue, blah, blah, blah. We got to because it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Look at what we've gone. Look at what we've gone through the past 9 years. And Trump was president. Things were pretty decent. We saw them constantly attacking him. He didn't win. However, he didn't win. It was stolen. It wasn't. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Biden's president. Things got fucked up. Prices were high. Now we could blame Biden or we could blame Trump. We could blame COVID because really that's where it all happened. Another situation where, oh, by the way, corporations benefited and you and me suffered. So who's to blame in all this? Well, obviously it's going to start with the politicians because they're the face. They're the head coach of the football team. Okay? But when it comes down to it, that head coach isn't playing the game. It's the players. The players in this situation would be your lobbying groups, your corporations, your people that you don't see that are controlling these politicians, that are causing them to make the decisions they're making, to causing these things to happen. Now, like I said earlier, I have my thoughts on how and why this war was initially started. And I don't think that the reason that happened has anything to do with what is happening as far as this stuff is concerned. This is where your corporations, whether it be the military industrial complex, which Eisenhower warned us about in 1961, warned us about it. Why? Well, he was a general. He knew what the future led as far as these individuals concerned. And they love war because, you know what? That's how they make their money. And then, just like during COVID, when your retail establishments, Walmart, those types of places benefited from COVID because in some states, depending on where you live, they shut down everything. Walmart was allowed to be open, grocery stores, those types of places, but of course your liquor stores and those places, but some of your smaller mom and pop stores went out of business. And it's not even that they went out of business necessarily because the state or city or whatever had ordinances because of whatever COVID bullshit they had. It was a lot of it had to do, your mom and pop stores went out of business because they couldn't get product. Why? Because the product was being shipped to Walmart and Target and these other places. Seriously, that's the truth. Now, this is a similar situation where we have a situation that we have no control over, where these individuals are benefiting. Now, oil companies are benefiting not even by fault of their own. They're benefiting just because they happen to be in the right business at this time. I mean, if you think about it, you think back to COVID when it first started. And most of your states were pretty much locked down. Even Florida was not locked down for, about a month, relatively. Not as bad as some states, but somewhat. Remember, gas prices dropped pretty low. Why? Because no one was driving anywhere. No one was going anywhere. You weren't allowed. You weren't allowed to travel. You weren't allowed to go on vacation. You could go out on I-4 here and where I live, and it was a freaking ghost town. I get Tampa in 20 minutes. Whereas it takes me normally 40 or so. Gas prices went down. Why? Well, Don, you said because it's a global market. Nobody in any country around the world was doing anything. Therefore, more supply because less demand. Prices go down. Right now, the demand's still high, but prices are starting to pass the demand. And as gas is too much, we are going to stop traveling. People are going to stop flying. People might not make trips in their car. They might not go places like they used to go. Because I need to get to work. I don't really have money to go to the beach or wherever. But in this situation, the gas prices are still going to go up because the global market's going to blame it on the war and the infrastructure and the Strait of Hormuz and all that other bullshit that we're hearing. I don't have an answer. I really don't have an answer. I can sit here and crack this microphone open like I'm Alex Jones and say, we need a revolution, blah, blah, blah. Is that the answer? I don't know. If you want to start a revolution, start it at the bowling, at the bowling alley, at the polling place. Start it by holding these individuals accountable. I really don't have the answers to this because, unfortunately, the laws are written. I'm not going to tell you, run for Congress, run for Senate, blah, blah, blah. No, because you're never going to get elected. Because if you have the same thoughts in your head that I have, ain't no one going to throw you money to get in there. Because, or even if they did, are you going to be the same person once you get elected? Because we thought that about Trump. I thought that when everything happened after his first term, Biden's fuckery in his term, and the shit they did to Trump when he was running for re-election, I thought things are going to be different. He's going to balls to the wall, blah, 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 whatever. And I felt like that was the case in his first year. And slowly but surely, he's proved me wrong and a lot of other people wrong. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that maybe Kamala would have done a better job, because I can almost guarantee you that wouldn't have been the case. Guarantee you. All right, guys. That is all I have for you today. All right, guys. So please share this episode everywhere. Hit the website, Don't Trust America, for show notes or anything else. You can go to the D-Tom store from there. And guys, follow the show on social media, Don't Trust America, on Facebook, Instagram, True Social, I'm sorry, I was reading something while I was talking. Social media, Don't Trust America on Facebook, Instagram, True Social, and the Ticker Talker, and of course, on the Twitter X Machine DTOM Podcast 1776. If you want to support the show monetarily, if you're able to, check out the sponsors. The list is on the podcast app, and what you're listening to this on, you click on the links, it'll take you right to the website. Like I said, go to the DTOM store if you want some show gear. I need to really find the time in my life to maybe make some new t-shirts. Just don't have the time. If you have any ideas, you can email them to me, donq@don'ttroutamerica. I'll give you credit. I can't give you any money if we can talk. You give me a good shirt idea, we'll figure it out. Whether your name's on it, I don't know that I can pay you for it, but maybe we can figure something out. All right, guys, that is all I have for you today. I'm sorry I was kind of not disgruntled, but distracted. Game was on, and I'm pissed off about all this shit. Seriously, I am. Other than that, guys, make sure you follow the show on Rumble. Don't Try America TV. Have a great day. I'll be back on Tuesday. Peace.